Alright, hello folks! Daily Death and Taxes returns in the post-companion world. Thank you to James B. for supporting this week of Daily D&D. And just as a heads up, I have received a rather large donation that will support another 4 weeks of Daily D&T beyond this. So expect to see a decent amount of experimentation with D&T and D&T style decks again on this channel. We're back. So this is a deck list that James cooked up. And it's a starting point. Basically, right now, there's nothing as far as D&T deck lists go to start with for the post-ban metagame. So he submitted this deck list to me, and I'm just going to roll with it without making any changes. I'm skeptical about some things before even going into the league, and I'll talk about some of that now. But this is a fine starting point. So essentially, this is a hybrid deck that's somewhere between D&T and the Luris White Weenie deck that we saw in the previous metagame. Generally speaking, I've been of the opinion that Aether Vial is not a particularly good card anymore, and that mana acceleration to power out your threats and your lock pieces sooner is probably pretty important. And so we're seeing the same approach here with Chrome Mox and Lotus Petal as ways to power out additional threats earlier. Rather than the 24 mana sources of traditional D&T, we have a whopping 27 mana sources in this deck. So Smuggler's Copter serves as a little bit of a looting effect to loot away those extra lands once you get into the later game. And Ghost Quarter and Wasteland are really more like spells than lands. And rather than having Rashadan Port as a mana sink, you're looking to just blow up your opponent's lands early and often. And Ghost Quarter is often just a land destruction card on its own, but is even better when paired with Leonin Arbiter, if that's something that you need to do. The mana in this deck might be a little bit awkward. We're trying to max out on Cavern of Souls here, but we do have a decent amount of creature type diversity. So for example, Giver is a core cleric. This is a human soldier, this is a human cleric, this is a cat cleric, this is a human soldier, this is a human advisor. So most of the time, our caverns are going to go on soldier or cleric. So cleric hits 1, 2, 3. Cat would hit these two, which is definitely relevant overlap, and then soldier hits 1, 2, 3. Human hits Tomic, Thalia, Kithian, Mother, and then like Revoker's kind of a free roll, right? So I'm a little worried about our creature type diversity due to Cavern of Souls. But hopefully the Chrome Mox and Lotus Petal pick up a decent amount of the slack in going and making the mana work. This is kind of a starting point. So why is this the starting point? The thought is that if there's a lot of combo running around, Brimaz is a great clock that pressures combo. The first time around it hits for 4, the next time it hits around for 5, so like you get N+1 damage each time, and that's pretty good. So the issue is, though, that like Brimaz is not a particularly good threat versus Oko. Like, yes, it's bigger than an elk, but the soldier that it creates can be jump blocked by an elk, and then Brimaz gets turned into an elk, and your threat kind of goes down the drain. I'm pretty worried that this deck just, like, Stone Cold is dead to Oko, but I think that's going to be true of most Death and Taxes variants that you play. So if I'm playing against a deck blind and I have an early Phyrexian Revoker, like a turn 1 Phyrexian Revoker, for example, for some reason, I really just see that naming Oko in the dark. As far as our sideboard goes, we have a lot of traditional D&T stuff. We're a little heavier on Path to Exile than normal because of the Leonin Arbor synergy. And then we have Armageddon, because it's probably a little bit better than usual, given like the higher mana source count and Chrome Mox and Lotus Petal being mana sources that can potentially stick around afterwards. With all that said, let's just kind of hop into a league and see how this goes.